TBC Center presents The Sphere of Influence. The Sphere of Influence is the TV ministry of the baptizing church where everyone is blessed, lifted, edified, strengthened, and encouraged by the word of faith and the power of the Spirit. For further inquiries, please log on to www.tbccenter.org or visit TBC Center, New Road Bus Stop, Lekki, Lagos, Nigeria. The word works.
Look, when you are sowing, be sensitive. At times you shed tears. Because at times people will say all kinds of things against you. But because don't lose sight, that's what the Bible says, he that sow, how does it put it? He's bearing precious seed. He's going forth weeping, but bearing precious seed. So the seed is precious. So what is a natural thing you are doing that is a seed sowing? And that's why we say people should serve in church. Because you can't just say I'm serving God and there's no natural thing you are doing. Because it is sown a natural body. Did you see that? But it is raised out a spiritual body. That means for everyone to look at the guys behind camera, guys behind the console, people doing, those who help people to park their cars, those who go downstairs, they are doing something natural. But you see, that seed sowing is counting for something eternal. Don't forget what Jesus said. These are foundation, these are secrets kept from the foundation of the world. They are foundational. That means you begin to lay solid foundations in the scheme of things once you begin to understand what we're talking about this morning. Now let's look at Mark 4 again. Then we'll come back to Matthew 13 and we can close. So, Mark 4 and Matthew 13 are two sides of the same coin. So it's up to you. Do you want to be a Mark 4 person? Or you want to be a Matthew 13 person? If you're a Matthew 13 person, the problem is that you will have wasted 75% of your seed. Because only 25% eventually go to the good ground. What a waste. What a waste. And that's why people are sowing, but they are not reaping. Because they are not sowing according to, they are still sowing in flesh and blood. Flesh and blood kind of sowing is evident. And that's why Jesus is saying, let's make it kingdom. He said the kingdom of God is as if a man should scatter. Even look at that look. He's not even just sowing it in trickles. What is he doing? He's scattering. And that's why the Bible said there is he that scatters. And yet increases. And that's why we said, when we started this teaching, that for as long as the heart remains. Look, when you become a sower and you have the mindset of a sower, you are ready for sowing 24/7. Because it can come anytime. So it's not a question of, oh, we have sown. Why are they asking us to sow again? Especially when it comes to money matters. Because Jesus said, seed time and harvest shall never cease. It will never cease. There will be no time when there will be no demand for people of God to sow, especially in the direction of God's work. Because seed time and harvest is in a perpetual continuum. It will never cease. Just like your salary will never cease. You must detach yourself from the process. So don't help people and you are waiting to harvest what you have invested into them from them. You must clear your mind. You must bring a closure to the process. Because how you are going to harvest, you don't know. Once you begin to sense that the reason why I want to help Sister Ntete, for example, is so that I can get some things from her. That means I already know how it's going to happen. That is sowing in the flesh. If it is done kingdom way, I must blank my mind. Once I do something, I move on. I don't want to know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. Can we get to that level? So that tomorrow you now stand in one corner and say that person is so ungrateful with all that I've done for the person. You see, believers, kingdom people don't talk that way. Because it is your privilege. You know what Jesus says? After you have done all this, he said, go and sit down and say, we are but unprofitable servants. We've only done that which we have been commanded to do. No big deal. So it is not left for people that have been helped to now also begin to think that when people help you, you also have to show appreciation. But it's not for you to be demanding for appreciation. Because how it's going to play out, you don't know. And once you zero it on a particular thing, you lose out or miss out on the other things God wants to do. Because some seed you are sowing in Nigeria, and it is as you arrive in America, for your first visit to America, that the harvest will begin to come. Once you sow, you have activated an automated or an automatic process. Let the heart yield it by itself. Look at your neighbor. Say, let the heart yield it. Don't force the yield. Because you can't even do it. You're just going to mess up the harvest. By itself, the heart will yield it. That's why I keep on sowing. At least you know what is going to happen. One day, the heart will yield it by itself. That is why Genesis 8 says, for as long as the heart remains, and it's still remaining, seed time and harvest will never cease. Now let's go to Matthew 13. So you see this one, before you know it, the harvest has come, the grain ripens. I don't want to start talking about harvest. So when we finish this series, we'll now look at how to harvest. Because one of the things seed sowing does to you is to give you strategic intelligence. So that by the time the harvest is coming, there's a sickle in your hand. A lot of people are not ready for the harvest because they don't have harvesting tools. There are tools you need to harvest. That's why this guy, because he's sowing accurately, as he was sowing, strategic intelligence started building up, and before you know it, there was a sickle in his hand. And because immediately the harvest came, he put in the sickle. Because harvest must never meet you at the same level. By the time harvest is coming, you must have graduated to another level. Because it will take more faith to harvest than to sow. It will take capacity. That's why, you see, for a farmer to sow, sowing is nothing. If a farmer should use 10,000 naira to sow, buy seed, by the time the farmer wants to harvest, he must be ready to spend 1 million naira. Because during harvest, you need to hire laborers. You need to, some aspect of the harvest must be mechanized. You must get combined harvesters. You must store some of the product. Immediately you harvest them, you have to take them into storage. So harvest requires capacity in the scheme of things. And that's why God is saying, let the seed sowing change your attitude. So that by the time harvest is coming, there's a sickle in your head. Hallelujah. Matthew 13, and we close. Are you getting something this morning? So as from Thursday, by the grace of God, we'll now get into the message fully. So I think for the last 3 Sundays now, we've done the introduction. Now hear the parable of the sower, verse 18. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the wicked one comes and snatches what is sown in his heart. We've dealt with that one. But look at verse 22. Now he who received seed among thorns is he who hears the word. Are you there? Then the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. That is the one that receives seed among thorns. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, as we close this morning, before you sow your seed, check your heart. Because in life, it is your heart that will determine whether your seed is going to thrive or not. Just like Jesus used agriculture to explain how you unlock the sequence of growth that is in a seed. He now had to start explaining it later that the soil upon which every seed you are sowing is going to grow is your heart. Is your heart. Is your heart. And that's why we're saying, honor the laws of sowing in God. Because if your heart is not right, you are wasting time. The same seed, but falling on different soils. And what created those soils? Mindset. So you can be the greatest giver on the face of the earth physically. But if your heart is not still right, you will not still harvest as God intends you to harvest. And that's a problem. There's a disconnect somewhere. Look at this guy now. The cares of this world, deceitfulness of riches, choked the word. Choked it. So instead of the seed growing, it was the thorns that started growing. Look at me, ladies and gentlemen, as we close this morning. What kind of defective mindset will make thorns to grow instead of seeds growing? So the Bible describes it vividly for us. And number one, the cares of this world. Let's break down the cares of this world. Let's do 1, 2, 3. I want people to help me this morning, because I want to be sure we're all thinking the same way. What will you constitute as the cares of this world? I tell you, one would be you want to fit into the status quo. For example, you want people to think you are successful. Because there's a way people who don't have anything carry themselves just to impress people that they have something. It's part of the cares of this world. People want you to show and look as if you have made it, you have it all together. And a lot of people are under undue pressure. They are buying the kind of cars they cannot afford, living in houses they cannot afford, just to have this semblance of success, so that the society can accept them. That's one. Somebody give me another one. Brother Richard, cares of this world. I tell you again, cares of this world is also the reason why people don't pray. Why people don't study the word. Look at it. Ladies and gentlemen, look at me. You see, Christianity is about a daily walk with God. You have 24 hours, I have 24 hours. You see, why is it that people find it to pray? People find it to study the word. People find it to do some of these things. That means there are other cares. And Jesus warned. You know what Jesus said? He said, let not your heart be overcharged with surfeiting. And the day will come upon you and you don't know. You see, tomorrow might just be the day of your visitation. But Jesus says the way it plays out is that once your heart is overcharged with other things, the day of the Lord can come and you miss it. And that's why you see in life, don't forget what we said. Once there are issues, you are fighting somebody, you are not talking, you see, go and make peace. Because, you see, there are too many distracting elements in the system. And that is why those who make the most of the plans of God for their lives are those who lead a very quiet life. Like I was telling my wife over the weekend, I had to pull out of the WhatsApp group of my old boys association. And before I pulled out, I told them, I said, I can't be here. And you know how boys can be careless. They'll just send pornography. I'm like, oh, we're crying out loud. How many years ago we all sat in secondary school? These things have changed. This is how many years after. I can't be doing boys now. Because I can understand some of them are not even married. And some of them wants to contest for senator, contest for this and that. And I'm like, what kind of senator are you going to be? That you can send pornographic things freely? I just put, because you see, I will not sacrifice my consecration of this many years on the altar of old boys association. Because blessed is that man who does not do what? Do you know that is how some of us, I've seen boys, church boys, tongue talking, and they go to all these old boys things and they give them Gouda and they start drinking it. Just because you want them to feel as if you are still one of them. you don't want them to know that after 30 years, you are no longer walking that path, that you are now having another set of values that are higher in nature and are ready to defend. I remember I went to the home of the high and the mighty, and he said he was celebrating his birthday and everybody must take champagne. I said, sir, I don't take that. And I was the only one that objected on the table. And he said, why? Because he's a billionaire. I said, I don't take alcohol as a matter of principle, sir. Would you please give me Eva or any other? Trust some of us. You will take it. So that they'll feel you're a big boy. So after all, it's just once. That means your value system is weak. I know some of those people are looking at you. It's just that you don't know. They're looking at you and say, look at this so-called born-again person. Let's see whether I can defend his values. Or my pastor friend, I went on a business trip, and as he was there, he just saw some girls at the other side of the divide, and I was just waving to him. And I was just winking to him. So after he finished the board meeting, because the lady was also in the boardroom, but winking to him. And he's in both friends, because I think he was in one of these European countries, said, well, that is how we do it here. After we finish the board meeting, you go into the lady. And the guy stood up. He said, I'm not going to do that, because I'm a pastor in my local church. And we don't do that. And you know what? The white man looked at him and said, many pastors have come here. They never even told us that they are pastors. But we were watching them behind the scene because there's a secret camera in that room. And we see how the pastors handled the ladies. And the guy said, really? He said, I play by a different set of rules. Please book my hotel for me. No ladies vomit into my hotel room. You see, value, defending it. That is what he cares of. This is what we not allow you to do. So you are sowing seed, but you are generating tongues. What's the point? Sowing seed and tongues are coming up. That means you are sowing seed, but you are also injecting fertilizers into the system to cause the tongues to grow faster than the seed. And the implication of tongues growing faster than seed is that once they grow faster than the seed, they choke the seed. They choke the seed. So watch it as you become a sower. Watch out for situations that will allow the tongues to go faster than the seed. The cares of this world. Then the second one is the deceitfulness of riches. Because it talks about riches, I can't talk about money in 5 minutes. Money can be deceptive. It's just that people don't know. This is Jesus talking. He said deceitfulness of riches. One of the deceitfulness of riches is that the more I have, the more I'll give to God. When the little you have now, you are not giving. It's a lie from the pit of hell. Because you are circumventing another law in God. You know what that law is? He that is not faithful in little cannot be faithful in much. Lord, you know if you can just give me 5 million. In fact, I'll give you 500,000. And Lord is saying, the 5,000 I gave you, where's the 500? He said 500 is too close to 5,000. You know, by the time you remove 500, what is remaining is 4,500. But by the time you remove 500,000 from 5 million, 4.5 million. Man, that is still some big money. And God is saying you are a joker. Because money has deceived you. Number two, deceitfulness of riches is to begin to think of money in terms of figures. You know, that's one reason why people don't talk. 100,000 from 1 million. I remember when we were growing up. Some of this, there was this guy in church who was doing his baby naming. So he invited his family members. Some of them were Muslims. And there was this guy who was a Muslim who sat beside myself and my brother in church. So every time the pastor would say something, he would just be like, eh? He's never been to church all his life. And he's like 50-something year old. Say, eh? Say, what is that one? He would ask my brother. But my brother and I felt so much uneasy sitting with the man because everything he would tap us. Say, what is that one? Well, you now got to tithe. And pastor now said, it's now time to. He said, what is that one? So I now explained to him. I said, 10%. He must say, yes. I'll never forget. You can ask my brother where you see. He put his hand on his head. He said, yeah. He said, 10%. He even said it. People had to turn. He said, These people are killers. He said, you but people. He said, you mean I will take 10%? I'm bringing to church. When 100% is not enough. And there, you know what he says? I will never be a Christian. If this is what they do in church. And myself, my brother looked at the man. You know, it's so alien to him that you mean you bring 10%? A whole 10%. The man said, these people are killers. He said it. In fact, people had to turn. He said, how can you now people? But do you blame the man? Do you blame him? That's why Jesus said you must operate in realms beyond flesh and blood. Because in his own mind, money to him is figure. 100,000. You know what 100,000 can do for a person? Deceitfulness of riches, number 3. You think if you hold it, you'll be richer. There's it that scattereth, and yet what? And there's it that holds more than his meat, and yet it turns onto. That means at some point God says, let's say God tells Tunde now that what, or Pastor Chiya, what you should hold this season is 500,000. So in the wisdom of man, you want to hold 1 million. You are now holding more than what is necessary. And Bible says at that level, what is it going to tend to? Poverty. And the last thing I want to make is this. One of the greatest proof of your faith walk is your tithing. And that's one of the greatest proof of your reliance on God as your source. Because tithing is not sowing seed. Tithing belongs to God. You only sow out of that which belongs to you. And that's why Jesus said, give unto God what belongs to God. That means Jesus already envisaged that in your money, there are certain things that belong to God. It's non-negotiable. And he said at the same time, give unto Caesar. You know, the society we live in is not a society that is very heavy on taxation. And that's why when most Nigerians enter UK or the US, they have to make adjustments. Because there are many people not taxing, not paying tax, and nothing is happening. How many of you know you can't try that in UK? You can't try that in the US. And that's why when they brought the money to Jesus, and they said, should we pay tax? They wanted to say what Jesus said. Jesus said, yes, pay tax, because that belongs to Caesar. That means Jesus is saying your obligation to the government, a must. Said, but in the same vein, as you are giving what belongs to Caesar unto Caesar, give what belongs to God. So the question is this: what belongs to God financially? Malachi 3 is the answer. He said, you have robbed me. He said, how have we robbed you? He made it point blank. He said, in tithes and in offering. That is what belongs to God. You say, U.S. government, what's the name of that star that came to Abuja to come and pose in Abuja? Wesley Snipes. He came to Abuja. In fact, Herify hosted him. He was posing. They were taking him all over the place. He landed in the U.S. They arrested him to jail immediately. He was owing taxes. If Obama should hold tax in America, in fact, he's handing over like this, is on his way to jail. See, those things are because they don't have oil and free oil money like we do here. They run their society on taxation. And that's why if the front of your house there's pothole there, you can sue the people in your county. If somebody should die as a result of that pothole, you can sue the county and they will have to pay compensation. Because over there, your tax, the people managing the tax have responsibilities towards you. And I think that is where we need to get to. I'm praying that God will help the president-elect to create a powerful tax regime for Nigeria. Because if every Nigerian should pay tax as at when due, we will have more revenue, more than what we are getting from oil and gas. But yeah, there's so much free money from oil and gas. 20 billion took off one day. And Nigeria did not die. Nigeria is not going to coma. That is a budget of 1 year. $20 billion is 4 trillion naira. That is more than the budget of Nigeria for 1 year. And yet, nothing shook. Nothing was out of place. And 20 billion just disappeared like that. That is what you get in an economy that is not running on tax. Because there's so much free money. But if it is tax, even if it's 1 naira, somebody must account for it. 1 naira cannot miss. Because we're talking about taxpayers' money. And if you sweat for the money and you pay your tax, if they mismanage the money, you will sue them. So the same way also, look at how advanced societies have thrived on the element of taxation and they made their society to work. So the same way, Jesus now said, give unto God also what belongs to God. Beyond tithe and offering, beyond what we're talking about this morning, in your own life, what do you think are the things that belong to God? It's good to say, you see, I said something, I think it was the faith convention we had in Abuja last week. I said, if you can just give half of what we say in worship to God. Do you know worship is very sweet? My all belongs to you. My life belongs to you. We sing those things. But if you can just be half of what you say in worship, the body of Christ will have moved further than this. Because in worship we say, my for me, my for money, and you the same, you God says, or after some we announce, oh, there's need in church, and you're angry. Say they have come again. But you just said in worship now, everything you have is for him to worship him. Now, okay, the one that you have expressed it in worship to give everything to, now says, we want to do medical mission next. We say, these people don't know the economy is biting. Which economy is biting? So you just admitted that there's weakness. So in weakness. That's when you sow. So deceitfulness of riches. I like us to rise up this morning.